In this video, I'm going to be discussing stimming and, more importantly, vocal stimming. All that plus more is coming right up. Hey guys, welcome back to the Aspie world. My name is Dan. I have autism, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia, and I'm making weekly videos all about this stuff. So if you're new around here and you want to learn more about those subjects, remember to hit the subscribe button by clicking that notification bell down below and give this page a follow if you're watching on other platforms. Guys, what is going on? It's really good to be doing a video on stimming because a lot of people don't understand what the word stimming means or how it relates to autism. So I'm going to kind of go through step by step everything that I think is important to get you to understand what stimming is, and then how stimming relates to other things, and what vocal stimming is, because this is a huge thing I think it's most of the time left off. Now, before I get into the video, I just want to say that this fidget toy that I've been using, the Ono Roller, is absolutely amazing. It's probably my favorite fidget toy of all time. It's just these two kind of cylindrical cans that work together in series. They're just linked together with these little chainy kind of like end pieces, and you just like fiddle around with it in your hand. But it's a really good stim toy or a fidget gadget for anybody who's got ADHD or autism who wants to just kind of fidget. You can have this thing in your pocket and people don't even know that it's there, and it's really easy to kind of just have around. Now, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below where you can get 10% off your own Ono Roller, hashtag not sponsored, but if you do use my link, I do get a little bit of an affiliate payout, but I just think this is really cool because I really, really love this. This is definitely my favorite fidget toy. Okay, so stimming, let's get into it. So for anybody who does not know, stimming is short for self-stimulatory behaviour. And what that means is it's a kind of behaviour that autistic individuals and ADHD individuals do to relax or feel regulated. It's a behaviour pattern that is kind of reoccurring. So it could be that, an autistic person may rock side to side or front to back. They could flap their hands or flick their fingers or do this a lot with lights and stuff like that. And stimming, it's kind of like a self-soothing. It's a nice repetitive behaviour that you know really well. It makes you feel good, and it's something that you can just do to help calm down. Now, when does stimming happen? Well, there's a few different times. Stimming can happen when you are experiencing anxiety. So say you're queuing up for an event, or it's Christmas Eve, or you're about to, I don't know, go and see your favorite band. It could be anything, right? And you get really excited, and that rush of energy could come out in the form of a stim. So you could be like, flapping your hands or rocking backwards and forwards or jumping up and down, because it's this kind of self-soothing behavior to kind of help regulate you and help regulate your emotions, which autistic individuals or neurodivergent individuals have massive issues with. Now, also on the flip side, if you're extremely nervous for something, because it's the same type of emotional action, you will get a similar response. So if you're nervous about something, you could be stimming a lot. You could be rocking backwards and forwards, flapping your hands. It's not that it's different. It's the same. And anxiety and nervousness is the same as excitement and nervousness, because you can get nervous excited, right? You can get nervous anxiety. So that's how stimming comes into play and how it explains itself in the life of autistic individuals. Now, I myself, I have a bunch of different stims. Like, I can't sit still all the time. Like, my legs will go up and down. Like, I'm doing it right now. Like, my leg is fidgeting, or I could like rock backwards and forwards, like side to side. And I do a lot of stimming with my fingers. Like, I'll just flip my fingers really quickly like this. And I have loads of different stims like that, but they're not always the same. However, the most important thing to note here, and by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this type of video, please give it a thumbs up so I know that to make more of these for you guys, because it's really helpful to me if you give this video a thumbs up. Thank you. The most interesting thing is vocal stimming. Now, vocal stimming is where you have the same action that happens at the same time as, nervousness or excitement, but instead of doing like a physical action, like a rocking backwards and forwards or flicking your fingers, it's a verbal kind of noise. It could be any noise. It could be a word. You could repeat a word over and over again, which is kind of similar to something called alexithymia, which is another issue within autism, or not issue, but another trait of autism, where you will repeat words that you have heard, lexicon, vocabulary. It could be a bunch of words. It could be anything. And you repeat those because you've heard them and you just want to repeat them because the noise sounds quite soothing or interesting, or you're trying to practice and learn those words. Hence why I'm actually born and raised in the UK. Although my accent is slightly transatlantic, so I was raised by watching American television, and so I learned most of my lexicon from American television, right? So that's how alexithymia works. But in terms of vocal stimming, it's more like a noise. It could be a random kind of like voice quivering, or it could be like a humming, or it could be like a high-pitched squeal, or it could be anything that's really specific that you hear, yourself or an autistic person doing when they're in a situation where they may be excited or nervous or scared or, you know, in the middle of having fun, or they're really just having a good time. This vocal stim is really interesting because I believe vocal stims were left off of the idea of stimming for a very long time. You have a lot of people thinking that stimming is just motion, right? It could be movement. Even using fidget toys, like I said about having the Ono, you know, this kind of helps keep stimming to isolated to this one idea here. But you know, having vocal stims is still movement because it's moving like your vocal cords, your larynx, your throat, your tongue. Like all of these things are still, there's still physical movement there, but it's isolated to a different part. But also there's an audio part of it. Now, there's two reasons why this actually comes about. When you are stimming, you are getting just physical feedback, right? A tactile feedback. But when you audio stim, and I'm sorry, what I mean by tactile feedback is that you can physically feel stuff in your hand. Your spatial awareness is concentrated to a specific area. Like if you're flapping your hands, you can feel that your hand is moving, right? That's giving you physical feedback or tactile feedback to your muscles, to your brain to go, okay, my hand is moving. So you're getting that feedback. And feedback is just a signal that goes to your brain to understand what is going on or something is happening. You're feeding that information back to your brain. Now, in terms of vocal stimming, there's two things that are happening, which I think enhances the ability for vocal stimming to be soothing to an autistic person. And that is when you're audibly saying something and you're having physical feedback from the vibration in your throat or your mouth, you're listening, you're hearing that stim, which is soothing, right? Because you can stim by listening to audio. And I'll get into that in just a few minutes. And so you're getting audio feedback and physical tactile feedback. And this together is really dopamine satisfying, which means it releases dopamine, a chemical which is a happy chemical that is released when you experience pleasure or things that you enjoy. And this is something that autistic people strive for all the time because autistic people and ADHD people have issues with dopamine. They just want to constantly have dopamine because they're almost dopamine deficient, right? Which is why we're always obsessed with the things that we are interested in and we become really interested in topic of interest. Now, audio stimming, listening to stuff. How many times, right, this is interesting, have you just listened to that one song on repeat forever? Or you listen to that one part of that one song on repeat? Actually, specifically, I remember the Beatles album that came out in 2007, which was like a best of type of thing. And there was outro on the song Strawberry Fields, and the outro was so good that I just listened to that all the time, but it was hard to kind of skip the CD back to that point because I'm super old and we had CDs then. So what I did is I turned it into an MP3 and I just clipped that one part and I just put that on my iTunes on my phone and my Apple Music, and I just put that on repeat. And so I stim to that, and by stimming I mean like just listening to this like audio awesome piece of content. Now, I actually created an audio library of stimming noises of like pens clicking, bubbles popping, people rubbing like their hands together, whiteboards, clapping, all this kind of cool stuff. Now, if you're interested in buying that download pack, it's only $7 and you can check it out in the link down below. It's really cool. I had a lot of fun making this in a studio, but that's audio stimming in two ways. You've got audio stimming and vocal stimming. And this is not just for autistic individuals. This is autistic and ADHD, because many people forget that people who have ADHD also stim. You don't have to have autism to just stim. And interestingly enough, I have seen people who are not on the spectrum at all who will stim, who will rock backwards and forwards, side to side. That fascinates the heck out of me. Now, guys, I want to know your take on this. Do you audio stim, or do you physically stim, or do you do both? Drop me a comment down below. I read every single one and respond. Please subscribe if you had fun here today. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace.